Hey everyone, welcome to the Richmond SHRM Rising Professionals Career Launchpad series. If you watch our series in 2020, you'll notice that we have a fresh new look, continuing our theme of outer space and launching into the future with Richmond SHRM. We're really excited to start out our second track of the Career Launchpad series, all about resilience and perseverance. We'll have 5 episodes that come out monthly on the resilience and perseverance topic, and 1 episode to recap and wrap up mid-year, for a total of 6 in this track. 2020 was quite the year, to say the least, but we are ready to tackle 2021 and all of its challenges with grace, poise, and persistence. My name's Emily, and I'll be your moderator today. I work at CAP Center, and I'm a SHRM certified professional. And joining us today, we have 2 amazing HR professionals, Quintrell Lenore and Carol Ann Lawson, who currently both work at VCU, offering 2 different unique perspectives working with students and staff. Today, we'll be discussing and the continuing battle with COVID with resilience and perseverance. Welcome to both of you. Will you go ahead and introduce yourselves, please?
Thank you, Emily. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Quintrell Lenore. Folks call me Q. I work at VCU in our Career Services office. My title is Assistant Director for Employer and Experiential Development. So in a nutshell, I get to work with a team that implements an on-campus recruiting program to connect employers and community members for students. Thanks for the introduction.
And I am Carol Ann Lawson, and like you, I also work at VCU and VCU Human Resources. I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives, and I oversee recruitment and executive search, career development, and a host of exciting initiatives occurring at VCU.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for joining us. So, wow, who knew we'd still be, in this pandemic a year or so later. So let's go ahead and kick off the discussion. Q, can you kind of just share how the organization is continuing to combat COVID-related workplace hurdles and how it's changed since this time last year?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I think about just workplace hurdles, probably the big one is just strategic alignment. Carol Ann and I both work at VCU, but in completely different business units. So we have different sort of operational and strategic goals. And so as all of our organizations, we've had to adapt fairly quickly, major communications, processes, project management, compliance, which is, sort of fluid. And those sort of hurdles are the big thing that we've sort of faced and implementing within our own staff. Our team in our career services department is composed of 3 functional units. So our employee development team, our career advising team, and our operations team. And so just knowing who's doing what, obviously we're primarily student facing. So as you can imagine, we've had to adapt to in-person services for our students, helping them out with career decision-making to being virtual. So, that presents a big challenge for our students and our support staff. So I would say those 2 being the big things: strategic alignment and adapting to the in-person to virtual world.
And agreed with Q, we also have the strategic alignment hurdles that we are facing and overcoming. Unlike Q, my job is much more staff facing, which I think has been a bit of an easier transition. We have found that a large amount of the work that we do can be done effectively virtually. It was a little bit of a transition at first, getting everyone into that virtual environment, but we have found ways to adapt to that quickly and effectively. We are, I think the biggest thing that has changed for us is the fact that we are now predominantly working from home. And with that, we've had to implement some ways to make sure that we stay engaged, and that things like recruitment and interviewing, that we appeal and reach out to candidates in effective ways, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But I think our biggest hurdle was the initial transition, and then again, how do we continue to stay engaged with both of our staff and the clients that we serve.
That's great. I'm actually back into the office in 2021, so it's definitely been an adjustment, but it's definitely more collaborative, and I think it's working out well. And as people move back into the office, everyone's going to face those same challenges. So and moving on, so how are you able to continue engaging with your remote workforce and internal and external stakeholders that you work with in this environment? Are you guys taking any sort of creative measures to do so?
Yeah, that's a great question. So obviously we've had to lean on new technology. Obviously, our virtual platforms have always been accessible to us, but we've had to lean on them heavily. And, one of I think our challenges is, kind of doing that needs assessment, because we have so many different types of stakeholders. So obviously we're serving our students. We want them to be gainfully employed, to grow while they're here at VCU, right? So they're the primary stakeholder, but our campus partners are huge stakeholders, faculty and staff, our alumni, even though they might be dispersed across the country, our services and programs are often geared towards them as well. And then finally, I think on my team, our employer partners, community members, they're a huge stakeholder. So just knowing what the needs are for them is a challenge. And we've definitely had to be creative. And so I kind of referenced in the first question, just, pivoting from in-person services, thinking about our career advisors who work one-on-one with students, those sessions have had to be, adapted virtually, and they've done a phenomenal job. And then for our employee development team, we didn't think that we can do a large scale event like a career fair in a virtual world, but we definitely adapted to that. And we have a good number of virtual career fairs that we have on our belt. So in terms of creativity, I think just thinking about how we've leveraged technology to implement some programs and events for all of our stakeholders.
And like you, we are also looking at a lot of different ways that we can engage both of those internal and external stakeholders. As far as, my team and the folks that I work with in human resources, we just do a lot of little things to stay engaged with each other. My team and I every morning we do a little good morning IM together, and it's just a nice way to start the day, kind of connects us. And I also have weekly meetings with my team. I have weekly one-on-ones, and it's just a way that we can, we used to have those, I'm going to pop by your office and say hi, or, chat at the coffee maker or whatever it might be. And since we don't have those anymore, it's a way to help us stay actively engaged. And then I think it makes us feel more comfortable to reach out to each other if we have questions or need support or whatever it may be. And as far as our external stakeholders, especially in the recruitment world, that was an area that used to be pretty much all in person, and we've pretty much moved to completely virtual. And some of it has been great. I mean, Zoom interviews can end up saving a lot of time, money, expense, but at the same time, you lose some of that in-person experience. People can't physically see campus. And so that's where we've really had to be creative, building out virtual resources, virtual tours, and then sometimes, bringing people to campus and just having to be extremely careful, follow safety protocols, et cetera. I think that the biggest thing that's important that I have found is just communication. Whether it's with your team, with people that you're serving, your external clients, just letting them know you're there for them, that you'll answer any question that they have, following up with them frequently. I think that keeps the doors open. And if there are questions or there are areas that are a little bit more difficult to do now in this virtual world, it keeps that door open.
Definitely. Awesome. And so what advice would you guys give to those HR professionals, or really anyone who's feeling burnt out working from home? With work and family and all kinds of other things going on, it's kind of hard to separate the two. So what advice would you give to those folks?
Yeah, so great question. I think that we've all sort of felt the just the impact of our new blended lives. Obviously, all of us have a life outside of our world of work. Some of us have families, but nonetheless, we all have this life that's now blended together with work. And so at the heart of, trying to manage that burnout and just fatigue, I think we're talking about project management and how we use our time. And so I think for me, leaning on the feedback from our leaders in our office, I think they've done a phenomenal job of telling us to set realistic goals, right? We want to be productive. In a lot of ways, how Kara Ann mentioned, we've been able to be productive using technology heavily, but the reality is, we felt the fatigue. So just setting realistic goals, having grace for ourselves with how we set those goals on a daily basis. Do we have to hit a home run out the park for all of our projects? Can there be some things that we put on the back burner, right? And prioritize. So I think that will be the biggest takeaway to help with the burnout, is just setting realistic goals.
I couldn't agree more, Q. And I think, we both work at VCU, and again, we're in different worlds, but I think we can both agree that we have supportive leadership and managers, which it makes such a difference. And one of the things that VCU is doing that I've been able to be a part of is creating groups that are specifically looking at working parents or just helping employees during this time. And so we've done things like hosted listening sessions for working parents and webinars to help them understand what kind of leave options they have. So if you're in the HR world and you're not already doing that kind of thing, I really urge you to work with your units to make sure you just have a lot of resources for your employees, because that's personally helped me feel heard and supported, and I think our other employees feel the same. And just for me personally, I have found that it's a lot easier for me to blend, as Q mentioned, that work and that life, the home life, because it's all at the same place for me. And so sometimes I'll find myself sitting at the computer till 7, 8 p.m. And not standing up, not taking any breaks. And so I've started to do little things like I'll set an alarm for myself at 5:30 p.m. every day to, remind me to start winding down and get away from the computer. I put reminders on my phone to stand up and stretch. And I mean, those might sound little and corny, but it's actually made a world of difference for me, because just with the pressures of our environment and, just everything that's going on, it's really easy to feel like you can't get up and get away, but you can, and you have to, you have to take care of yourself and be there for your family. And I love how, tying that in with what you said, knowing what is really a priority and working with your organization to make sure that you are prioritizing and doing what makes the most sense at this time.
Wonderful. And it sounds like you guys have done lots of creative initiatives that have really shown resilience and perseverance. So to kind of wrap things up, how do you guys envision the future of your team, the organization, and what that looks like? And what would you say to those who are kind of unsure what that future might hold?
Yeah, so I think Carol Ann hinted at this. The reality is we've leveraged technology, we've leveraged Zoom, so we can't ignore it. We can't just throw it all back, once the pandemic goes away, right? So I think it's going to be cool to see how we blend the much needed in-person interactions and projects and programs that we do in our business units, but leveraging technology. So I'm excited to see that. I can't wait for the next potluck for our office. I'm a guy that loves to eat. You can't tell I'm a big guy. So I'm really looking forward to getting back in front of all my teammates and just talking about the daily, just how everything's going on a daily basis, eating and trying to accomplish some team goals. So that's what I sort of anticipate moving forward.
I agree. I think it's going to be really exciting to see that hybrid that you mentioned. There are certain things that they just happen better in person, but I think there are certain things that we have proven that happen just as efficiently or better, and often we can spare some expense to do in a virtual way. So I think it will absolutely look different than it did before, but I'm excited about some of the in-person aspects coming back that we haven't been able to do. And as far as being unsure about what the future holds, I think just it's that self-care, which is one of the reasons why I have started to do things like implement alarms to stop working and have those boundaries, so I can take the time that I need to take care of myself, so I can be the strongest version of myself. For me, I just have to take it a day at a time. I don't know what tomorrow holds. I'm optimistic about the future, and I think optimism and positivity is really important, but we don't know what the future holds. We don't know when things are going to go back to normal or what that will even look like. So taking it a day at a time, having positivity, being a support system for your friends and your colleagues is something that helps me a lot too. And again, taking care of yourself so you can be strong for whatever life throws your way. And I think we've all proven that we've been able to do that over the past almost year. And I think we can continue to do that. So.
Yeah, that's great insight. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. And so just to wrap up, we wanted to just reiterate some key takeaways here. So just make sure that you are staying positive in your daily life. As HR professionals, we are the folks who really set the stage for the rest of the company. So we're showing that things are getting done and we're staying positive, it's surely to trickle down to other areas of the business, and we all have to learn from each other. Take it one day at a time, like Carolyn said, and keep that smile on your face and the positivity radiating.
Yeah, and a perfect segue is just keeping it simple and setting realistic goals, right? We don't necessarily have to knock everything out the park with our strategic goals. All right, so being realistic about what we can accomplish and what's most important to prioritize what needs to be taken care of.
And I think to support both what Emily and Q have said is just to set those boundaries, to take care of yourself, have that time management to understand what really is a priority, and what you as one human being can take on both personally and professionally. So just having those boundaries for yourself.
Definitely. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today, and thanks to our two stellar panelists for their input. We hope you guys all enjoyed this first episode in 2021 about continuing the battle with COVID. Please follow Richmond SHRM on LinkedIn and connect with our presenters. And a quick reminder that our 2021 legal update is on March 4th, and that will take place virtually. You are able to register online. And then if you want to learn more about joining Richmond SHRM, please check out our website at richmondSHRM.org. If you have any topic suggestions, feel free to let us know. Have a great day.
Awesome, guys.